Well, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. We're going to start out with, we do have some changes to our agenda. We've got an H5 edition, we've got a G11 edition, and then there's also a D5 additional bills payable.
Move to approve with the additions.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, getting into consent agenda, we've got the minutes from special city council meeting minutes, May 30th, 2023. Special city council meeting minutes, May 24th, 2023. Regular city council meeting minutes of May 22nd, 2023. LEC joint powers meeting minutes, June 1st, 2023. Public Arts Commission meeting minutes, May 9th, 2023. Board of Review meeting minutes, May 4th, 2023. Convention and Visitors Bureau meeting minutes, April 26, 2023. Housing and Redevelopment Authority meetings, April 26, 2023. We've got an approved dock permit. We also have a case item, application for temporary on sale liquor license, Lake Cabina Improvement Association, amendment to application to Block Streets Worthington International Festival Cultural Awareness Organization, application for parade permit to Block Streets Spirit of Worthington Trojan Marching Band, 2023-24 on sale liquor, wine, club, and Sunday on sale license renewables, and bills payable. I have a motion for accepting the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, or opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay. On to Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is a resolution to accept a donation from the Early Riser Kiwanis Group. In the summer of 2022, city staff was approached by members of the Worthington Early Risers Kiwanis Group looking to start a fundraising campaign for a new all-inclusive dock in Chautauqua Park. This new all-inclusive dock idea was presented to the Park and Recreation Advisory Committee at their November 3rd, 2022 meeting and was unanimously approved. The City of Worthington staff was recently notified that this Early Riser Kiwanis Group had raised their stated goal and would be presenting a check to the city in the amount of $41,237 to be used for the purchase of this new dock. Included in your packet is the resolution accepting the donation. Council action is requested to adopt the resolution accepting the donation and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign any necessary agreements. Very excited about this project. They raised a bunch of money for an all-inclusive playground in Chautauqua Park 2 years ago, and we think this will just be a great added amenity to that park. Just an update on where we're at. The dock has been ordered a while ago because it was quite a ways out, and it's about ready to go, but we're waiting for the city of Worthington is going to put in a series of sidewalks and landings to make it handicapped accessible, and there's some steps. Our contractor wanted to do it early this spring, but we didn't have a very good spring, so we're still waiting on our contractor to get that in. But as soon as we get it all ready and get it in, it'll be really a good donation. So we have some members of the group here that would like to present the mayor with a check for a little over $41,000.
Thank you.
Go up front.
While they're doing it, I'll make a motion to accept it and approve.
Sorry.
We'll make it official.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Want to put the screen up? Want a picture?
Thank you all very much. I gave the playground a test ride last Wednesday, and I had to check the sponginess of Very nice.
I hope you went on the zip line.
Huh?
I hope you went.
No, I didn't. Kids will take me off. That's too old, probably. Right?
It'll hold you.
Okay.
So here's your check,
Wow.
correct amount.
I know you guys were telling me that you were gonna start on this
We are.
and
Ready?
speaking.
Yep.
Not a good looking
That's a
crew.
good name.
Oh, there's another picture? All right.
You got right side up.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, I'll have to give that to the banker, right?
Well, in a couple of years, you can use that now, you know.
Right? Yeah, I know, right? We'll go fishing together. How about that? All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have city council business, we're at acceptance of the program funds.
Yeah, Mayor, Council. Scott Langeroot of American Family Insurance generously donated $200 to the Worthington Police Department. Donation will be placed in police program reserves and will be utilized to enhance police officer and youth interactions during Blue in the Community events such as Night to Unite. Council action is requested to adopt a resolution shown in Exhibit 1 accepting the $200 donation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Thank you. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, City Council Business Administration, case item release of hospital impact funds designated for laboratory space at the Bioscience Training Center.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Upon the sale of the city-owned hospital, Worthington Regional Hospital, to Sanford Health Systems in 2008, City Council committed funds to various projects identified as either impact, which are non-refundable, or legacy, which are refundable. One of the impact project funds committed monies to the build-out of a laboratory space in the unfinished area at the Bioscience Training Center. City Council committed $200,000 of hospital impact funds to this improvement. Cambridge Technologies recently completed the laboratory project for their research, development, and diagnostics operations. They've invested over $900,000 and employ 12 full-time people and 2 interns in this department. Representatives of Cambridge Technologies are here this evening to provide information and answer questions regarding the project. Council action is requested to release the committed funds to Cambridge Technologies and authorize the Finance Department to issue payment of $220,000. I just want to add, I personally toured the lab last week, and now I feel like a scientist, but very impressive. It was all very well done, very high technology equipment, analytic equipment, very beautiful setting. And those of us that have been around a while remember that space sitting empty with a gravel floor for 10 years or more. And so we're very happy that this project has come to fruition and being utilized in a manner, and it's adding employees to Worthington and furthering the bioscience technology reputation here in Worthington. So with us is Mark Fries, Wayne Fries, and Sydney Schutte from Cambridge. If you guys have any questions or if you have any comments that you want to make.
Tell us about it. What exactly does it accomplish for Cambridge?
Yeah, this is Wayne Fries, and Sydney Schutte here is our CFO, and Mark Fries put the original package together, and Analogics is on the other part of the building. We took the dirt floor to a really finished laboratory. Cambridge Technologies is making custom-made vaccines, and we have long-term research projects. we were in the building on 508 Oxford Street and pretty crunched in there, and there wasn't any office space, so we took the training lab and built that into office space. I'd like to add that Sydney and I were just talking multiple times about the dollars we put into it. We know we're going to be over $1 million by the time the last bills come in. And then I was thinking on the way down here, there's probably $300,000 worth of equipment in there. And what that does, and we've got another project slated very soon that architects are looking at to put a adjuvant flow area into the east bay of the north side. We are a diagnostic research entity with a production plant in Sioux Center, Iowa. And we have about 40 people working in Sioux Center because a laboratory building was available. And so, but we still needed research and development because that runs everything. And we have 11 people there with 6 full-time researchers that are from various places. And some really sharp people in research and diagnostic, but we needed a better space that we could put in decent equipment, and we weren't sitting on top of each other. What that allows us to do is to receive samples. We ran over 15,000 samples this last year for entities all around the country in the cattle arena and also the swine arena. And it's bringing dollars into Worthington, and but this allows us to do it in a way that's really nice. It allows high-tech equipment. And if you know researchers, you know that you need to have facilities for them. And it really has been a project that's been 2 or 3 years in the mix trying to figure it out. We had an architect working on it. But it is going to allow us to expand our business long term. We're kind of peaked out in Sioux Center. Long term, we're going to, short term, we're going to go into the 508 Oxford area, and we're going to put in a quality control laboratory into that building with the existing facilities. We're going to bring people out of Sioux Center for up here for that. And long term, and again, say that the one other project on the east side is we're going to require some remodeling, probably $200,000 to $300,000 more on the east side. But long term, we want to look at a facility in 5-6 years right next to the biotech building, and we want to put more production facilities into Cambridge. We want to do it in Worthington. So,
Chad and Wayne, 2-3 years ago when we were having meetings at the switch of the building and stuff, I think the neat thing to bring up is there were other locations that you guys were looking at doing a lot of these projects that didn't include the zip code 56187.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
this building allowed a lot of stuff to stay here.
Absolutely. And we have between 70 and 80 people in the laboratory, with some being in the sales arena. There's about 12 around the country, but they always end up back in Worthington here. And then all our customer service and research and regulatory is in Worthington here, and we have people south of town that are employed. But we want to be in Worthington. There's a workforce in Worthington, and this is where we want to be. And we want it's difficult to manage something 60 miles away, and it's a very competitive market down there. It's hard to hire because it's very there's a lot of opportunity down there in other areas, and so we want to have it up here where we can see people and talk to people. And I mentioned to John Malberg, our Chief Operating Officer, that we've got to get a plan on the drawing board. And we have opportunities right now in the poultry arena. A large company has been talking to us about that. We will long-term be looking at aquaculture, salmon industry. We are putting together a project for that right now. And so there's just good things coming. And we don't have enough space down there. That allowed us to get going, but we need more up here. So this is the start, not the end. So we appreciate being able to get in there, and we appreciate, I'm glad it was a dirt floor, because now we could make it into something that we wanted to make it into. And Sydney's in charge of the checkbook. Mark, do you have any comments about working with Analogics in the building?
I'm finding out I'm getting evicted quicker than
thing you came to the meeting. huh?
Landlord's tough to deal with, huh?
Well, we do it together, but the building we're building out by the law enforcement's for Analogics, and but trust me, I don't kick him out.
Thank you for keeping it in Worthington, or trying to stay in Worthington. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to third reading proposal, ordinance to amend Title 15 of the City Code to rezone property from I, Major Institution District, to R1, Single Family Detached Residential District.
So this is pursuant to the published notice for the third reading of this proposed ordinance amendment, as just stated by the mayor. Complete copy of the ordinance was in the May 8th council agenda. Council action is requested to give a third reading and pass the ordinance.
Any comments?
I haven't received any. Matt?
Move third reading.
Okay, we have motion and seconded. Any other further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Third reading proposed ordinance to amend Title 15 of the City Code to rezone property from TZ Transition Zone District to B3 General Business District.
Okay, again, this is the pursuant to the published notice. This is the time and date set for the third reading of the proposed ordinance as stated by the mayor. A complete copy was in the May 8th council agenda. Council action is requested to give a third reading of the proposed ordinance and approve adoption.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded.
Is that the property up by the law enforcement center, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Third reading proposed ordinance to amend Title 15 of City Code to rezone property from R2 Single Family Low Density Residential District to R4 Medium Density Residential District.
Again, pursuant to the published notice at time and date set for the third reading of this proposed ordinance, complete copy was provided in the May 8th council agenda. Council action is requested to give a third reading and adopt the proposed ordinance.
I'd move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Second. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Designation of official city representative to Cuero, Texas for 2023 Turkey Fest and authorization for reimbursement of expenses.
Turkey Fest is scheduled for October 13th through 15th, 2023 in Cuero, Texas. Travel dates tentatively will be October 11th to Cuero and October 15th back to Worthington. Section 4.17 of the city charter, historical partnerships, provides that city council may authorize expenditures for one or more designated city officials to serve as official city Worthington representative to Krausheim, Germany, Cuero, Texas, and other such destinations that have a historical partnership or significance to the city. Former Mayor Mike Cooley represented the city of Worthington and Cuero last year in 2022. Council action is requested to designate an official representative to Cuero, Texas in October 2023 and authorize reimbursements for their expenses.
Any discussion?
Who's going?
Has everyone been? Have you been?
I have not been. No.
Well then, do you want to go?
I'd move Rick. You going?
I'm thinking of going, yes.
Moved, designate mayor.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. City. Did I read it? Okay. City of Worthington intent to participate in a roadway jurisdiction transfer turnback agreement on Trunk Highway TH 59 in conjunction with State Project SP 5304-41.
Okay, representatives of the Minnesota Department of Transportation District 7 have proposed transferring jurisdiction of Trunk Highway 59 from Interstate 90 to Oxford Street, which is North Humiston Avenue, and from Humiston Avenue to Trunk Highway 60, commonly thought of as East Oxford Street, back to the city of Worthington. Turnback would occur after completion of reconstruction of the segment of the roadway currently scheduled for 2027. Studies indicate that this roadway is used primarily by local traffic and therefore is better suited to the city roadway system from both a design and maintenance perspectives. Currently, 4 roadway segment designs are being considered. Refinement and selection of the recommended segment will be presented to the City Council following public engagement events and further consultation with City Council and staff. The majority of the total project cost will be borne by MnDOT, with the city funding an estimated share of 2% to 4%. Council is requested to approve the resolution that's attached as Exhibit 3, confirming their intent to enter into a turnback agreement. However, it's noted that Council will consider and act on the negotiated turnback agreement at a later date when the official formal agreement is prepared.
Chad.
Doing this now, sure, it takes financial burden off the city now in redoing 59 North. But what does it in turn bring 30 years down the road for the city of Worthington? What does this change? Because it will change in the future of who bears the expense of redoing and what that leads to, opposed to what we've been used to. Just so we all know what we're voting on.
So once this turnback is completed, the city will be responsible for maintenance and upkeep, including some future reconstruction that could be 30, 40, 50 years in the future. Will be us taking responsibility for the snow plowing. We as staff have reviewed this, and Todd, or Steve, if you need to correct me on my numbers, we are anticipating that we'll have to add one more public works person with these added roadway miles, and probably one more plow truck. And if I remember correctly, we were looking at an annual additional cost of $90,000 to $100,000 over and above what we are currently budgeting. We will get additional state aid funds, turnback funds to help offset that. I believe they were talking in the $60,000 to $65,000 range is what would offset our added cost. Have I remembered my numbers relatively close? Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Seeing they're nodding in agreement.
And those are all new annual costs. Some of them are one-time purchase things or whatever that go in there. But how then does the city prepare for 30 to 40 years from now or whatever, when reconstruction or whatever needs to be done? Do we need to start putting aside a reserve fund for this, and to what level? I mean, there's good to this, no doubt. And we're going to get a say in how this is going to be designed and things like that because they want us to do this. They came to us because they want us to do this. There's going to be a cost to it. Maybe not to those of us sitting at this table now, but for this city and for the taxpayers of this city, 30 to 40 years from now or whatever it may be, there could be a full reconstruction of this. And I don't know, Steve or Goo, how do you put the crystal ball as to what's the proper number for that? But this city better start thinking about a reserve fund to make sure that there are those capabilities of doing it, unless it's going to be a big bonded, huge project that it's only going to, it's going to happen once every 30 to 40 years. But what kind of things do we need to think of that, sure, it sounds great right now, and we don't have to think of it. None of us here are going to be thinking about this when it comes to reality that the people who live here are going to have to pay again.
Do you want to address that?
Yeah,
Steve?
I'm looking for words maybe now.
Okay. Well, our allotment is around $650,000 right now. We use $100,000 of that to go to maintenance, and it's been at that $100,000 for many, many, many years. So one of the things we may want to look at, obviously, is an increase in the allotment that we take from our state aid and put into maintenance for the maintenance of the municipal state aid street system. The roadway itself, just as a comparison, the city back in the later 80s, I think it was, did a reconstruction of Oxford Street for about a half a mile that went from Diagonal Road to Humiston Avenue. And that was done with state aid turnback monies. It used to be State Highway 266 at that time, and that was rebuilt, and the state paid for that at that point. So if you look at that, you're looking at about 30 plus years of 35 years or so, approximately, maybe a little bit more than that street has been in place now, and it's going to hold up for many more years. So from a life expectancy, I would say you're probably looking at maybe something for reconstruction, maybe closer to the 50-year time frame, maybe even a little bit longer, depending on what you do to maintain that surface and what you do. Utilities underneath are always going to be ours anyway, so it does come into a play, but it would become a factor. How are the utilities doing? Do we have to rebuild those? You have to dig up the road to fix something else. So hopefully all that will last for 50 or maybe even 60 years or more. That is a good question. How much will it cost in the future? Well, if we look at the price of the project, and here again we have a short half mile going up to the interstate that we'll have, plus we'll have another half a mile or maybe a little bit more approximately going over to Highway 60. And I think we're looking at somewhere in around 10 million plus range right now that they're estimating for this particular project. So you figure, what's it going to be 50 years from now? And I don't know what the funding, what we'll be receiving for the funding at that point either and stuff. So where the money would come from. But you're right. When we start getting close to that, we're probably going to have to start looking at funding sources and where we're going to get the money. We can always apply for federal funds, and we've done that in the past. With the Oxford Street project we're doing now in conjunction with the county, we both of us applied for, both entities of government applied for federal funding, and that gives up 80% of the cost, and then we have to match the other 20%. So there probably will continue to be some outside funding sources we could make use of. I don't think we're going to rebuild it all at one time like they're doing now. That's going to be something else we'll look at. If we can get funding for doing part of it at one point, and then maybe 2 or 3 or 4, whatever years later, you might get funding to do another segment of it. So you'll probably piece this together in the future by doing sections of it or segments of it instead of trying to come up with the money all at one time, and thereby being able to access more federal money to do that. So if you're doing it, you're right, funding will be a concern, and there will be some cost to the city in doing that. Hopefully our stated allotment will help cover some of that, and hopefully federal funding that we can apply for, that we can get now, will continue, and we'll be able to get 80% of the cost from that, with 20% coming from our local funds. So like anything and stuff, we'll have to, the council at that time will have to make the determination whether there be assessments to the property owners for certain parts of the project that wouldn't, may not be covered by federal funding or need some additional funds, so we might end up coming from the local property owners, but that'll be something if it's accessible or not. The project we're doing right now on Oxford Street was initially intended to have some additional assessments to the property owners. In doing that, we were able to work it out with federal funding and state aid money between the county and the city that there are no assessments for the project to the property owners on Oxford Street for that half a mile project, which is a great thing for those property owners. That may not be the case in the future for some of these other projects, for if we do these later on. But that's an option of funding also. So I don't know if I clarified anything at this point because there's a lot of unknowns, but hopefully we'd be able to get before, without having to do a complete reconstruction, we'd be able to get maybe 50-plus years out of this. I know we have streets in town right now that have been there for probably closer to 60-plus years that are still functioning, no bituminous overlays on them. Now, obviously, they're lower volume roadways, they're municipal-type streets, but, concrete can last a long time. And if it's, with the maintenance that we do on them, we should be able to get quite a few years out of them, more than the 30, I would hope, and I'd like to think closer to 50, 60 before we'd start seriously considering reconstruction.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'd move to approve.
Motion seconded?
Second.
Okay. Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Amendments to the liquor store manager, assistant manager, and retail clerk supervisor position guidelines.
Okay, we did not include the retail clerk supervisor position guidelines at this time. We may address that at a future time. Administration and human resources staff periodically review the position guidelines and update essential duties, responsibilities, and qualifications as needed. Attached as Exhibit 4 are the revised position guidelines for the liquor store manager and assistant manager. The revisions do not result in changes to the respective salary grades or current wages in accordance with the city's compensation plan. A lot of it is just cleanup and updating and refining really the responsibilities that we want these positions to have. Council action is requested to approve the amendments for the above position. Upon approval, staff will post and advertise for the manager position.
Move to approve.
Yeah, I second that. I thought the changes were made more clarity
Yep.
for the position.
Updated verbiage and, yeah.
Yep, it did make it a lot more clear, I thought, yeah.
Shouldn't be a lot of questions.
Nope.
Okay, any further discussion? Do we have a motion and second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approve the development and construction of an impound vehicle storage facility at the Prairie Justice Center.
The Law Enforcement Center's Joint Operations Committee has been considering development of an impound vehicle storage building since 2007. The intent of this project, which includes both a building and fenced-in areas, is twofold: store some impounded vehicles in a secure building and to place other vehicles inside a fenced area for both security and visibility. The cost of the project will be shared equally by the city and Nobles County. Project includes a 60-foot by 120-foot building and approximately 1,000 linear feet of 7-foot high chain link fencing with 2 cantilever rolling gates enclosing an area approximately 200 feet by 300 feet. This is all on the Prairie Justice Center property. The estimated cost of the project is $343,421. Improvements at the Prairie Justice Center are allocated to city based on the space usage agreement. The city's financial responsibility is 15.97% on facility-wide improvements such as roof replacement or HVAC upgrades, and 50% on improvements to the areas jointly used by the city's police department and the county's sheriff's department. Projects are funded by the county, and the city levies $197,500 annually towards the balance owed to Nobles County. This levy has been in place since 2002. Exhibit 5 is the spreadsheet with the current improvements, cost share, and remaining principal balance. The Joint Operations Committee forwards this recommendation to the City Council to approve the project and funding. Council action is requested to approve the project contingent upon approval by the Nobles County Board.
I have a question.
Yep, Amy.
I've been on the city council for a few years. I think this is year number 7. I've seen a lot of chatter about this facility. What's the chances of this actually happening? feel like
This
we
is
talk about it a lot.
this is the closest, the committee has actually come to an agreement and is forwarding the recommendation. So this is the first time that has occurred.
And it's going to happen out by Prairie Justice
Yes.
Center.
This is a piece of land which is directly to the south of the Prairie Justice Center.
Has the county commission had any action on this recently?
County board took it up in a discussion last week and tabled the discussion for, I think there was
Waiting for us.
a lack of information that was presented to the county board. I didn't attend that board meeting. I didn't think it was necessary.
What kind of information were they missing, or other than us driving the project?
They were apparently missing the payback information or the cost sharing information in it, and that was a formula or a plan that was put together by the former county administrator and myself several years ago. So it was actually prepared and presented by the Nobles County administrator on cost sharing and payback provisions.
Well, it feels like this is a long time coming, like a really, really,
The song that
really
never
ends.
Yes, I basically said, we need to bring it, and I think I said that, we need to bring it or never ever utter the words again. Isn't that pretty much?
You
all
made that very clear.
I am sick of it, because I've been on this committee for 7 years, and it was talked about before I was on this committee. We have residents who have called numerous times because we uphold properties into not having junk around,
Yet we do the same thing.
but we don't hold ourselves to the same tune. They're not all of ours. There are some that are the county's. The law enforcement officials that are trying to maintain, prosecute, and rid ourselves of bad situations, bad people doing bad things with some of these vehicles, they need to protect that in order to gain a conviction or something. And here we have them sitting out in all elements, and some of that information or evidence, whatever, being degraded or even kicked out because of
Yet we keep
no
talking
cover.
about it.
Exactly.
over and
So-
over again.
And not to mention that we're legally responsible for the condition of the vehicle itself and whatever property may or may not be in the
Yeah, when it
vehicle.
if and when it gets turned back over to the person whom it was impounded from, if we let it go to rot, then we're liable for some of those things, because not everything that comes in there or that is impounded is junk. It's just impounded for evidence, for a situation, for a trial, for whatever. So it just needs to happen.
I move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Contingent upon approval of Nobles County Board.
I'll second. I do have one. Can you share a little bit about the different cost estimates that you guys have had over this period of time? Because I think this is a very reasonable number. And we believe.
Cost estimates have ranged from $2 to $3 million to this is a much more scaled back version of how to accomplish this, using more of a fenced area for vehicles that do not have to be kept secured for court reasons, but need to be there in our possession, our responsibility. So there needs to be some manner of securing them in a responsible manner. It's also an eyesore for the people that live out in that neighborhood. So the fenced area and putting slats in the fence would certainly alleviate some of the complaints that have come in. And we shouldn't be out enforcing people that are improperly parking vehicles when we're guilty of that ourselves. There's been discussion amongst the city members on this committee that if this doesn't move forward, that perhaps we need to look at our own facility on city property, so that And we've had vehicles impounded that may have been part of a vehicular homicide or a large drug bust that need to be kept in a locked, secured area to secure the evidence to ensure proper court action of those that are being charged with those offenses.
And just to clarify, so the estimated cost of the project is $343,421. That is the full.
That's the full, that's not the city share, that's the full cost. The city share would be half of that. And to go back to this levy, the city took responsibility for one of the bonds when the Prairie Justice Center, Law Enforcement Center, was first constructed. The annual bond costs were $197,500. We made that last bond payment in 2022. So that bond is paid off. We have continued to levy that same amount and plan to continue to levy that $197,500 every year till we pay off the balance that we owe on these improvements to the Prairie Justice Center. And when we do pay off the balance, my recommendation is that we continue to levy that $197,500 to put into a reserve fund that would pay for future improvements, either being able to pay with cash or to put it towards that constant improvements that will be occurring at that facility.
Are we also paying interest on any?
And we are, yes, we are paying the county interest on the outstanding principal.
So that would even help us out if we had to tow cars in the wintertime, put them in there. We'd probably get some revenues for daily parking as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Okay, so we've had a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
There might be an end to this song.
All right, we've got City Council Business Engineering. We got a couple more here. Okay. Minnesota Department of Revenue's revised local option sales tax agreement.
Okay, so the Department of Revenue is revising the local option sales tax agreement between the city and the Department of Revenue. Currently, the department makes 2 transmittals of sales tax receipts to the city for each month. First transmittal is approximately 5 business days after the month end, and what they refer to as the month end, so on May 31st, the month ends. Sales tax submission is due on June 20th to the state by the businesses that collect sales tax. That June 20th is actually the month end date. Just took us a while during the webinar to clear that up. First transmittal is approximately 5 business days after the month end. Second transmittal is approximately 40 days after month end. Second transmittal includes a deduction of a fee for administering, collecting, and enforcing the sales tax, which is applied to all of the entities that have local option sales tax. This is a very complex and convoluted way that they compute this. So they have proposed this alternative way of proposing and reimbursement of the sales tax. So beginning January 1st of 2024, Department of Revenue will transmit taxes reported for the month in one monthly payment. Transmittal will be sent approximately 40 days after the month end. So again, May 31st, the month end is June 20th. Payment for May would come 40 days after June 20th. So there would be one payment, and then they are taking the administrative fee and they're going to make that a fixed fee of 1.35%, which again, for the administering, the collecting, and enforcing. Right now, their computation for that administrative fee is so convoluted. I got lost halfway through their explanation, but it has been approximately that 1.35% each year, so there's not really a change. So council is requested to approve the new agreement that's included as Exhibit 6 and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute that agreement.
Council,
I move to approve.
motion.
Second?
Okay, we have motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Juneteenth, declared state holiday.
So the Minnesota House and Senate passed bills earlier in the 2023 legislative session declaring June 19th as a state holiday, which commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. It was signed into law by Governor Walz on February 3rd to become effective on August 1st of 2023. A provision contained in the state and local omnibus bill changed the date to make the new holiday effective before June 19th of 2023. As recognition of this holiday, no public business can be conducted on June 19th, 2023. We received a subsequent notice from the League of Minnesota Cities that clarified that the provision stipulates that it is deemed a city holiday and only essential staff shall work on that day. The council is requested to approve the resolution included as Exhibit 7 establishing June 19th as an observed holiday. And I want to add that we have not addressed this in union contracts. We're in the middle of union contracts. So this will be something that will be coming up.
So to kind of build off of that then, so as of right now, we are not adding an additional holiday day to their schedule.
Yes, we are.
Reallocate.
No, this is an additional holiday.
And they will not need to change any of their current floating holidays?
That will be a discussion that will come up, but again, we're in the middle of our second year of our 3-year contract. The late notice that we received on this, it was approximately May 25th before we understood what had happened, because there were many things that took place behind closed doors in conference committee that didn't have legislative debate. And it wasn't until 3 days after the session ended that we were notified that it, by the way, part of that bill contains language that says it's a city holiday. So at this point, we're declaring June 19th as an additional holiday for 2023. I'm not making any predictions as to where it will go in the future. But to officially note that June 19, 2023 is a city holiday, we have a resolution in Exhibit 7 that we're asking council to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Happy.
Motion carried. Number 11 is authorization to advertise for quotes for demolition and site restoration of the former Lake Shore gas station.
So staff received approval from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to proceed with demolition and site restoration of the former Lakeshore gas station property. Advertisement for quotes will be published on June 21st with a deadline to submit a quote at 2 p.m. on July 12th. Council will review the quotes and consider approval at their July 24th meeting. Included as Exhibit 8 is the request for quotes. I want to add that we discovered today that receiving approval from the MPCA that we've been waiting on for 2 months was actually them not telling us we couldn't do it. Otherwise, we would have done this probably 2 months ago.
What Todd said, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I asked Todd to check on where we're at, and they said, well, if we didn't call you back within a day or two, you're approved. So unfortunately, we had hoped to do this with city staff, but now at this date, there's no way we can tackle this our own, and we lost our big equipment operator to deployment in Qatar or Qatar, whatever the proper way is to pronounce it. So we will go out and solicit quotes from contractors to do the demolition. And our plan at this point is get the building down, get the site cleared, and just restore it to green space at this point.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Engineering. Set public meeting for a review of stormwater pollution prevention.
Pollution, maybe?
Pollution.
Pollution, yeah.
City Council, as you're probably aware, the City of Worthington is a regulated city under Phase 2 of the federal program for reducing pollution from municipal separate stormwater systems. It's called MS4 permit. Regulated cities need to be covered under a statewide National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. The permit requires including implementation of the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, which is called the SHWEP. This is to include the following 6 mandatory minimum control measures: public education and outreach, public involvement and participation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site stormwater runoff control, post-construction stormwater management, and pollution prevention, good housekeeping for municipal operations. It is also required that the city conduct an annual public meeting to allow comment on the city's SHWEP. It is proposed that the public meeting be set for the regular council meeting on July 24th, 2023. Staff recommends that the council authorize publication or publishing the following notice not less than 30 days in advance of the public meeting. And then the public notice goes on to say it'll be at 5:30 at a regular Monday meeting on July 24th at City Hall. And at that point, the public will have an opportunity to provide input into the what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then from there and stuff, we'll also give people a chance to provide other written or oral comments on the city's SHWEP until August 4th of 2023. And then we'll make any reasonable adjustments to our SHWEP as part of the annual report to be submitted to the MPCA. Just as a note, the annual report to the MPCA, we did not have to do it in 2022. They're switching it to an online instead of a paper process. So we'll be doing 2022 and 2023 in the year 2024. So the report will have to be in by June 30th of 2024, and it'll cover 2 years. So, but we still need to try and get that annual meeting or public hearing to meet that requirement for 2022. So we're asking that you set that date for the public hearing.
I move to set a public hearing for the public meeting for the SHWEP, mostly because I wanted to say SHWEP.
Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further
Does
discussion?
everything have to have an acronym?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
And you should probably recall that in the past, there has been no public participation. So unless we have something change and stuff, we're not anticipating that will take a long period of time at the beginning of the meeting. So item number 2 is approve plans and specifications and advertise for bids for the improvement of the Shell Street from Lake Avenue to 9th Avenue. City staff has prepared the plans and specifications for the improvement of Shell Street. The project will be included the removal of the surface and base, replacement of the water main and sanitary sewer services, and the construction of a drainable base and concrete pavement. The starting date will be approximately July 24th, 2023, with anticipated substantial completion date of October 13th, 2023. Staff recommends the approval of the resolution in Exhibit Number 1 to approve the plans and specifications along with authorizing the advertisement for bids to be open on Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 at 2 o'clock p.m. at City Hall. And before I go on from there, I better check with Goo. Did we change that date?
I haven't advertised it, so it's flexible.
Okay. You're talking about changing it to Friday the 8th. We'd like to change that to Friday the 8th, mostly because after the 4th of July weekend, it's tougher for contractors and stuff to get together. So we'd like to, we're going to amend that advertisement. 7th, yes. Thank you for checking.
7th.
It would be July 7th, Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. at City Hall.
Who didn't want to come to work on Saturday?
I move to approve as proposed, or with the change of date.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Next is the award of the contract for the 2023 mill and overlay work on Lake Street, Noble Street, and Bantam Place. Bids were opened on Wednesday, May 31st, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. for the mill and overlay of Lake Street from 2nd Avenue to 4th Avenue, Noble Street from East Avenue to the Union Pacific Railroad, and Bantam Place from Miles Drive to the North Termini. The following two bids were received. Dunick Incorporated at a bid of $245,602.25. Minnesota Paving Materials was the second bidder we had at $302,255.75. The estimated cost for the project was $259,151. Staff recommends the contract be awarded to Dunick Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder, for the amount of $245,602.25.
So was that a mistake? It's supposed to be 4th Avenue?
I believe we're going to 4th Avenue on that one. I think it was 3rd Avenue was put down. We're looking at Termini Point. 2 blocks, yeah. It's 2 blocks
That's what I
long.
thought. But that's included in the quote.
Yes, it's all included in there,
Okay.
yes. It's
Yeah.
just
They
the
didn't skip a block in the quote.
the council agenda item just had the wrong street there. It should have been 4th on there.
Do they, being Dunick with a major project on Oxford Street, foresee any issues getting this completed?
We have not had any conversation with Dunick at this point. We assume since they bid it that they have the intention of being able to finish it in time. One of the things just remember is that the project on Oxford Street is a concrete project, and they'll have people in place. So I anticipate once they get things removed in one area and the contractor comes in to work, they'll be waiting to be able to start the other side. So at that point, they'd be able to come in and start that work on the city street, then go back and finish work on Oxford Street, and then go back again and work again on Shell.
Yeah,
So
I just wanted to make,
I think
didn't
it'll-
know if they mentioned anything.
I haven't heard anything, but I anticipate it'll fit well into their construction schedule since they'll have everybody here and they're doing the same kind of work. They'll work it in.
Yeah.
Do we have a finish by timeline date?
We're anticipating that they'll have this completed by about mid-October, toward the end of October this year. That's the intention.
Is that stated, or is that?
That's in the proposal, yes, that they have a completion date.
Is there any penalty if they don't?
Yes, there is. And we enforce the liquidated damages.
Move to approve the contract for Dunick.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Number 4 is approve the task order number 21 with Bolton and Mink to provide preliminary engineering services. Federal Transportation Alternative Grant in the amount of $592,000 has been approved for the construction of the East Lake Okabena Trail located between 2nd Avenue at Lake Street and Trunk Highway 60. The total project cost is estimated at $885,000. The project is proposed for 2027. Task order number 21, which is in Exhibit 2, provides engineering services for the project development, including right-of-way acquisition, project design, permitting, and environmental review. The cost is not to exceed $127,500. Since federal funding projects have additional requirements that need to be met, starting the design process as soon as possible is essential for getting the project ready in time. The project could start earlier if the federal documentation and right-of-way acquisition has been completed ahead of schedule. In this particular case, because we're purchasing property involving federally funded projects, a little bit more involved in that. We'll be working with the Union Pacific Railroad, and that in itself could be a time-consuming process. So we think by getting started earlier, we have a very good chance of having it ready by the 2027 deadline. But we're hoping we'll actually get it going before that. And if that's the case, we can upfront the money that would be reimbursed by the state or the federal with the federal funding when that money becomes available, the year it's designated.
Yeah, it'd sure be great to get that going before 2027. That's,
Start today, and then
yeah.
Yep. So we're recommending that you approve that task order number 21 with Bolton and Mink to get that process started.
Motion
Second.
Seconded, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go back and make one slight correction on number 3 when we're having our discussion. The overlay you had was bituminous, and the Dunnick project they're working on right now is actually a concrete project. So there will be no real overlapping of some of the contracting and stuff. They will be able to bring a crew in and do the removals, and they work it out of the concrete plant. So really, I mean, the bituminous plant they have in town. So it's not a concrete project, which I was referring to earlier. It's actually a bituminous project, and they have a local plant, so they should be able to get that bituminous work done on those bituminous projects before the deadline this fall. So the last item I have is approve a declaration of or intent to reimburse itself, that being the city, from bond funds for Shell Street improvement. Income tax regulations dealing with bonds requires the city to pass a resolution declaring the intent to reimburse itself from bond proceeds. This resolution is regard to the city's share of the Shell Street improvement project. This is something that we approve every year, every project we have. We approve it so that you can use your bonding monies that's sold later on a project that you're doing at this time. So staff recommends the approval of that resolution in exhibit number 3 to allow us to use bonding monies to pay for our share of the project.
Any questions or motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, community development, workforce housing application. I'll leave the names alone.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So Gurmanesh and Tillahan, and I'm sorry I definitely pronounced it wrong, have applied for a forgivable loan through the city's workforce housing program for the eligible developer installed infrastructure improvements installed for the newly constructed house they're purchasing at 2218 Eleanor Street. This is one of the 2 new homes that the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership is wrapping up construction on right now. The program, adopted in 2008, was created to encourage the construction of affordable housing units within the boundaries of TIF District Number 7 by offering forgivable loans to qualified home buyers. There's 3 stated purposes. It's essentially to help with the percentage of the lot cost devoted to the infrastructure installments there. A copy of the full program guidelines are provided in Exhibit 1A. Upon review of the infrastructure cost, staff has determined the value of the eligible expenditures to be $24,701.19 for this lot. Based on the guidelines, the forgivable loan would be structured for 5 years with an interest rate of 5%. For each year the applicant owns and resides in the home, the annual mortgage payment would be forgiven. After 5 years, it's fully forgiven. If they move or sell the house during the loan period, they would be responsible for the outstanding loan balance. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that the applicants meet the eligibility criteria and are eligible for the loan. The funds in TIF District 7 that are utilized for this program were placed into a spending plan by City Council on December 12, 2022. In order to issue this loan, that amount needs to be designated back out of the spending plan and placed back into TIF District 7. And then after that, then we can approve the forgivable loan. So we do need 2 separate actions. The first one to designate $24,701.19 back to TIF District 7. And then the second motion can be to approve the loan.
I move that, the first part of what you just said.
To move the funds?
Yeah, to move the funds.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Now I approve the loan.
Second.
How are we doing?
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Second motion carried.
All right, thank you. Lastly, I just have a bit of an update on our comprehensive planning project here. So we are well underway with this now. We had our first steering committee meeting on June 7th here at the beginning of the month. Great group of folks there. they started looking at branding for the plan, which will help us with a lot of community engagement efforts because nobody knows what a comprehensive plan is. And then they also started a review of our survey questions and just general engagement plan, as well as going over what is a comprehensive plan, what is their role in this, kind of learning all that background information there. So good group. We're excited for the upcoming meetings with them throughout the project there. Currently, we're working on the existing conditions portion of the project and are starting to gear up for more engagement efforts. We did have our first pop-up event at the regatta, which went very well. So if you saw us there, thank you. And thank you to everyone who stopped by and answered questions or talked to us for any length of time. It was very valuable to us. And then special thanks to Christina and Angie for helping me out with that. And if you haven't met Angie, she's our cross-cultural advisory committee intern. She'll be with us for a number of other festivals. So if you see us out there and want to meet her, just stop by. Next up, we'll be wrapping up that existing conditions and then getting into the first phase of community engagement, which will begin with an open house. The date for that will be determined very soon. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks for the update, Matt. Okay, do we have any council committee reports? One thing I got is if anybody wants to hear some bad jokes, I'm going to MC the city band.
This week?
This week, yeah.
Dad joke one.
I follow Pat O'Neill, so I don't know if I can trouble him or not. He is a storyteller, so that's all I got.
I don't have anything.
I have no official report. I do want to say I wasn't able to make it to the regatta on Saturday night, but did enjoy the music. You could hear all of it from my bedroom with the window open. It echoed across the lake perfectly, so thank you for that.
Yeah, even with the little bit of sprinkling of rain we had.
Yeah, it was
on
all
Saturday
good.
night. Yeah, it was good.
Worthington stock, right?
Yeah, right. Both Friday, Saturday night were great. Just in addition of Matt stated most of what we've done with the comprehensive plan and steering committee. Just added that we do have homework. We're just not sitting on the sideline until our next meeting. We got homework of looking over our survey questions, evaluating the survey tool itself. What do the members of the steering committee actually want to find out with the survey, and or do some of the survey questions need to be tweaked? And we've already gotten some great pointers from steering committee members that were there, and we've got a great staff steering us along, very thorough and really have laid out what our job will be in the next year to come through this process. So looking forward to that, and I think everybody walked out with a better vision of what our job is going to be. We didn't have a planning commission this month, and then also just besides the regatta, stopped out at. It was good to see Southeastern Park get being utilized out on East Avenue. One, I think it was the Corinne community was putting on a soccer tournament.
Soccer, yep.
Had 9 teams, I think, played over the 2 days, and some good food and good soccer. So, yeah, it was a. I did go by our soccer fields then, so it was and nobody was using them, so it was a little. Was wondering why our city soccer fields weren't being utilized for a tournament.
I can
some
answer
input
that.
there?
One of the requirements that we have is they have to have a liability insurance for an organized event like that, and they didn't want to purchase that, but we did tell them, Southeast Park is a first come first serve facility. We have had some issues with our adult soccer league, and so at this time, it wasn't really our issues, it was issues between them, and the person that was running it resigned, and so we're trying to straighten that out at this time, but we're not We're going to be a little careful of who we allow permission to run that. And we may be looking at doing something on our own in the future. But that's why the Corinne community came to me and wanted to use the fields, and we wanted to charge them because they're more organized fields, we wanted to charge them and make sure that they had the proper liability insurance. And they had looked at it, and then they said they weren't comfortable getting that, whether they were worried about somebody getting hurt or liability issues or whatever. So we did tell them, this is a first come, first served park. We did go out there and paint some lines for them and put an extra, they actually brought more bathrooms, we brought bathrooms and stuff. So that's where we're at with our adult soccer. So if you don't see people playing,
We also had semi-pro soccer on Georgian Field. There's one more game on the 17th, unless they moved it, because they were talking about moving it. One more semi-pro soccer game on the 17th.
very exciting and very fun thing to watch. So, and just about every one of them.
Indeed.
Thank you. Elena, anything?
For the YMCA, the Worthington Area YMCA CEO position is currently live. Find that on their website or through probably most job searches at this point. So that's the big thing for the YMCA. I know that they had a very good turnout for the first weekend that the city pool was open. Number-wise, I don't quite know how we're doing on that, but I know that they're doing a really good job managing it. And some of it too is that Worthington is a little bit different from some other locations that have pools like this. So it's just making sure we have things posted in multiple languages about what is acceptable swimwear, explaining the reason behind that. So I know that there's city staff as well that has helped partner to get that information out there.
Just talked to Joelle late last week. Everything's going good. The other slide that we had to repair on is done. Everything is operational. Everything's going good. Our numbers were a little up and down because of the weather. If there's lightning in the area, then they have to clear the pool for an hour, and that's if they see it or can hear thunder. So with all these pop-up showers we've been having, they'd have people in, and then people would leave and not come back. But overall, it's been very well received. There's been people from a number of miles away who've been here using it. So I think it's going really well. I don't know how they went today. It was a little cooler. And yesterday and over the weekend or whatever, we had showers again. But if we get some nice, clear, blue sky days with good weather, I think we'll really see an increase. We had 1,400 in the first 3 days, people that used the pool. So,
Thank you. Yeah. Chad?
Really, most of my stuff being at the end here has been covered. The Prairie Justice Joint Committee, the song that never ends, is maybe coming to an end. Comp plan meetings with Chris, he said that very well. The unique thing about that is we want people involved, and that means more than just people on the committee. We want to hear from community input and things like that. But one thing to remember, and we've used this term a little bit, is there are a lot of unicorn dreams of things that people would love in a city. They would love to happen here because it happens someplace else, and there are a lot of situations that go into some of those. And the way it's somewhat laughingly been termed a little bit is there's unicorn ideas, but how do we make them into a reality? Because we all know unicorns are. Well, yeah,
not real.
Unicorns are unicorns. Let's not say they're not real. They're unicorns are unicorns. But how do we turn a unicorn into a horse with a really pretty mane?
Oh, there you go.
Instead of it being a unicorn. So that's one of the things we're looking to do. Is we know we're going to get some of those comments of, I wish we had the Mall of America here, or whatever it may be, that just aren't a reality for a community our size or something of that sort. And that was a joke. but
Nobody really wants
But
it.
yes, those sorts of things. So
Chad says.
yeah. Again, as said before, congrats to the Regatta Committee. It takes a lot of volunteers to do a lot of things like that make things happen in this community and bring people from many different states, many different communities to here. So hats off to the volunteers, and thank you to the residents along there who sacrificed some things while those events are happening along that stretch of Lake Street, and I think it's great that a lot of them buy in, tie in, and become part of it, allow people to use their house for things like changing and restrooms and equipment and things like that. Again, too bad Mother Nature didn't fully cooperate, but she did okay. You could have sprayed every field in about a 60-mile radius with no drift Saturday morning because it was this glass for a while, but then we had that one little burst of rain or whatever, and all of a sudden they had some wind and they got out there real quick and did some surfing, so that was good. And again, congrats to Joelle and the staff out at Waterworld. I've been out there a couple times, and they are doing a fantastic job, and I've heard a lot of great things, and they figured out a lot of things that are happening. And the last thing I want to talk about is there is a Lake Okabena Improvement Association get-together coming up Wednesday evening at Slater Park. It is an opportunity for anyone who has any vested interest in Lake Okabena, whether it's for recreation, for fishing, for fun, or just because you like to walk around it or do anything like that. Anybody can be a member. You don't have to live on the lake. Matter of fact, over 50% of the membership of the Lake Okabena Improvement Association are people who do not live on Lake Okabena, and they're really trying to revitalize that. There are funds to spend. There are new mooring buoys out by Ludlow Park on the lake where boats can tie up. You see people out there with their floating mats and things like that, and usually multiple boats or pontoons tie together, and people sit out in the lake and have fun and hang out for a day. That's what those mooring buoys allow you to do, is they allow you to tie up on a point that isn't going to move, and then you can tie together and hang out and have music going and fun and all that stuff. But they're meeting at Slater Park on Wednesday night. There is a Lake Okabena Improvement Association Facebook page that has been started, and they are getting prepared for the fundraising efforts we do on July 3rd. At the Radio Works Beach Bash. That will happen on Centennial. That's a free event, and all the money that's raised at that goes to the Lake Okabena Improvement Association. So I would encourage people to attend Wednesday night's event. They're going to have hot dogs and things like that. Hang on.
It's on Facebook.
It is on Facebook. Look up, search Lake Okabena Improvement Association. They have a page. It's got all the information on there for exact times and everything at Slater Park. A facility which they have rented. So
It is at 5 o'clock, 5 to dark.
5 until dark, and it'll just be information asking for people to become involved. People who want to become members, membership forms will be there, and just some socialization and fun. In addition to that, many people, somewhat unfortunately, and some informationally know that there are a couple spots on Lake Okabena where it is very shallow and there are some very big rocks. The unfortunate ones are the ones who have found those rocks with their propellers on their motors and have wrecked those. Mark Thier and I, on behalf of the Lake Okabena Improvement Association, went out and did our absolute best, and we had help from fishermen and stuff finding those really shallow areas of rock. And most people don't think there's rock like on the surface. They think it's all, the silt and all that on the bottom of Lake Okabena. Well, let me tell you, there are some areas that have bigger than basketball size rocks right on the surface, and it's only like 2.5 feet deep in some of those. So we marked that with rock buoys. So just to note that there are some rock buoys out there. We have brand new rock buoys ordered, but they are on back order. So we repaired the ones we have had for a number of years as much as we could, and put those out there on Friday. So they are back out there again. So stay, if you will, inside to the middle of the lake of those buoys in that area, and it's along by the Vote Farm property there, by the college area where that college spillway enters into the lake. That's kind of the area along there that's the most shallow and has rocks and has claimed a few boats. So That's all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Steve?
Reminder, a week from Friday, and the 23rd is our next Food Truck Friday. And we're slated to have live music at that event. And the young man that we had offered a position and was accepted for the assistant city engineer, and then he ended up not being able to come. We found another wonderful candidate. Job offer's been extended and was accepted over the weekend. A young lady that just graduated from University of Minnesota Duluth with her civil engineering degree. If anyone has ideas for housing, she would like a one-bedroom apartment if something is available. So we will be looking to help accommodate that.
And when should we start?
Middle of July. She had July 17th, Monday, July 17th is what she's kind of targeting to start. So if anyone has any leads or ideas, please direct them to me. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
You can always count on you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.